Okay, you're all set to begin.
Very good. Just want to welcome everybody to the Town Council meeting for September 16th, 2021. In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, I must inquire whether anyone is recording this meeting, and if so, to please make your presence known. And just to make the announcement that we are all participating in this meeting remotely. The Board of Health will also be joining with us later on, and they also will be participating remotely. At this point in time, can we have the roll call, please?
Councilors: Atzlis.
Present.
Bogan.
Present.
Clark.
Here.
Pullum.
Here.
Dagwan.
Here.
Rapp Grassetti.
Present.
Hebert.
Present.
Levesque.
Here.
Neary.
Here.
Schnepp.
Here.
Shaughnessy.
Here.
Starr.
Here.
Steinhilber.
Here.
13 present.
Thank you. If we can all please stand and mute our microphones, and Councilor Bogan is going to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that, Councilor Bogan. Appreciate that. And at this moment in time, we'd just like to take and observe a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Okay, moving on into our agenda, it is time for public comment. And Sarah, do we have anyone here for public comment? I will say, just before we do that, I do anticipate if anybody's here to talk about the zoning piece, that I anticipate that will be continued till October 21st. So if you wanted to hold comment, you could wait till then, or if you still want to speak, you can do that as well. I just wanted to make everyone aware of that. So, but Sarah, if we have anybody, please let us know.
We do. First up for public comment is Karen McGuire. Karen, you can unmute and you have 3 minutes.
Sorry.
That's
Hi,
okay.
everyone.
Hi, Kim.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to make a comment. I'm Karen McGuire, and I'm the president of the recently formed Safe Twin Works Incorporated. And we are an organization that has a grassroots organization that's developed to propose alternatives to the use of the 40-acre parcel at the Twin Works Golf Course, which is on 2 creeks that flows down into Nantucket Sound near the Fortes and Keys Memorial Beach. Recently, there was an article in the Cape Cod Times on September 10th, 2021, talking about the 312-unit Hyannis apartment complex undergoing state environmental review. And what I want to do is make sure that the people who are on this call and the town councilors know that there is an opportunity for public comment on the Mass Environmental Policy Act website, which is part of the Massachusetts Environmental sorry, you caught me as I just got back to my desk. Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act Office, MEPA, which is under the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. And we found out that they were doing a MEPA, this Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act Office was doing a virtual site visit of the 35 Scudder Twin Brooks Golf Course property. We got an invitation because they had our name. And so we joined the Zoom. It took us a couple of days to understand how this worked. And then it took us a couple of days to actually get the environmental notification form that was submitted by the proponent, the developer LMC. We got that through the MEPA website and the engineering firm, PESI Engineering, that represents LMC. I just want to make sure everyone knows that between now and September 21st, that residents of Barnstable have an opportunity to go onto that site and make public comment regarding this development. It's best to make public comment if you read the ENF, but unfortunately, it is a lot of pages. It's, what is it, Brian? 340 pages to digest. And so I would suggest that people go on the website, consider public comment, and if you want to know who we are and what we're standing for, go to savetwinbrooks.org, and you may have seen our yard signs popping up around Barnstable regarding preserving this property for conservation and open space. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. McGuire. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Next up, we have Susan Starkey. Susan, you may unmute. You have 3 minutes.
Ms. Starkey, you're on.
Okay, thank you. Well, I am here about the Vineyard Wind project. Tonight, I would really like to thank the town council, all of you, for being leaders on this important issue that will bring clean and renewable energy, not just to the Cape and Islands and Massachusetts, but also New England and beyond. I am a Yarmouth resident who supported the Vineyard Wind's efforts for a number of years now, since they were approaching my town of Yarmouth. And I was proud that Barnstable stepped up to bring the cable to land, in your town, in our town, and will make this offshore wind project successful. And it's been important to see that it's successful for all stakeholders. I am co-chair of the Faith Communities Environmental Network that is part of the Cape Cod Climate Change Collaborative. It's a volunteer role that I serve in and do a lot of volunteer work because we really care about eco-justice and about making sure that the fishing industry, the job market, bold environmental action takes place, and that we step up to the climate emergency that we're in. So you all have supported the due diligence that is necessary to make sure that this is a great project. And Vineyard Wind has done its part and provided a lot of excellent plans to move forward. So I think that we will be closer to zero emissions, to meeting our state goal, because of your support and leadership. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Starkey. Appreciate your time.
Okay, next up for public comment is Diana Parker. Diana, you have 3 minutes. The comment is Diana Parker. Diana, you have 3 minutes. Comment is Diana Parker. Diana, you have 3 minutes.
Can you hear me?
We can. Can you shut off the television in the background? Because we can hear it, the delay. But you are on. Ms. Parker, you are on.
I think she's muted.
Ms.
She
Parker,
is.
if you press *6 on your phone, that should unmute you.
Can you hear me now?
We can. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that. It's hard to do on a phone. Anyway, I'm hoping that the town council and the Barnstable Board of Health will discuss what to be done about people who are not going on the sewering for, let's say, 5 to 10 years, but have to put in the Title V because of a failed septic system. It's a very expensive proposition, and if it's only going to be used for, say, 5 years, I'm hoping that they can discuss the possibility, as long as the system is pumped every 2 years and is in working order, that they do not have to replace it. So I'm hoping that will be part of the discussion at some point. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parker.
We do have some more public comment. Just a second while I wait for them to join us.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna go see if I can get them. If Susan Rohrbach shows up, she's next for public comment. I'll be right back.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Susan, you're on.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm here tonight to say thank you to you all, to the council and to the staff of the council for all the hard work that and leadership that you've shown in your work with Vineyard Wind. You know, it's really exciting to see the collaboration happen as the construction of Vineyard Wind and the Strawberry Hill project is getting underway. The sewer challenges that we face are huge, and they're the hardest ones that you face. We've been struggling for decades on this. You've shown that you will do what you can to capture opportunities to save costs and get creative. You've cultivated a partnership with Cape Wind that will bring tens of millions to the town, help to facilitate critical sewer construction, and support projects that help address state, national, and global challenges. We all must do our part on clean energy and addressing climate change, but it's also important that you, as our town council members and the staff that work with you, look after our residents. And I think in this case, you've done both, and I thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate the kind words.
That is all we have for public comment at this time.
Thank you, Sarah. At this point in time, I'd like to open the floor for response to public comment, please. Council Bogan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very briefly, in response to Ms. Parker's comments, I share her concern. As the council is aware, I certainly have raised a concern on a couple of occasions with respect to what do we do about people who are not either A, getting sewered for quite some time, or frankly, not getting sewered at all. We're making subsidies available for the greater good for those who are getting sewered. But as I've stated before, we certainly need to make accommodation for those who are not or who are getting sewered later. So I do want to acknowledge Ms. Parker's concerns, let her know that she's not alone, and we will be talking about that issue further. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Bogan. Councilor Atzlis, please.
And also in respect to Ms. Parker's comments or question, just want to direct those folks who are have a similar question or the same question to the Barnstable Water Resources site on the Town of Barnstable website. Question number 10 is exactly what Ms. Parker asked. And there is a phone number that folks can call, 508-790-6400, or they can email dpw@town.barnstable.ma.us, where they can ask similar questions. And obviously it is something that they're working on, but they will at least be able to potentially help on a property by property basis to answer some questions. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councilor Atzlis. Any other response to public comment? Vice President Schnapp, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to send out an appreciation to those who showed up tonight to thank us for our efforts with Vineyard Wind. This definitely has been a project that has been going on for a number of years, and it is wonderful to reach the finish line where we will be breaking ground and starting to make this a reality. So thank you for acknowledging that. I also want to thank Ms. McGuire for providing information to our public about the MEPA website and the ability to provide public comment on the Twin Books development. So hopefully that information is easy for people to find because this is the time to provide that comment to the state. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Schnapp. Any other response to public comment? Okay, then I would close this portion of our, oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Hebert, I see your hand, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. President. Kind of a follow-up on Diane Parker's comment. You know, we are going to be meeting with the Board of Health, and I'm hoping that the council is going to also be able to, whether we continue as we have an open conversation, a workshop in the town council in regards to the whole sewer project, or if we see the need to create a small committee of the council to kind of keep these questions coming. Not everybody's comfortable with the computer, getting on the website, finding the right place to get the information. But just before the meeting here, you know, I had a constituent calling me asking, he was very, very, very concerned about being forced to tie in. When was that going to happen? A lot of questions, which I said I'll be working to try to get him answers. But we haven't come up with answers for some of these questions on a broad base for the 11,000 people that we're talking about here. So I think that behooves us to work to get that information out to the general public through the council as we have our questions answered, because case by case is not necessarily going to work for everybody. So I thank you for calling in, and I totally agree with Council Atlas that they can call the number. And again, the town, I think, got off to a very good start with the paperwork that they sent to those of us on Strawberry Hill Road, at least getting ready to figure out where we're going to do our connections. But at the same time, it creates new questions that need to be answered. So, and it's not always easy to have one person to be calling. So anytime that we can get a general statement out to the public that we know is clear, it's not made up, it's not somebody's opinion, I think will be terrific. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor Hebert. Any other council comment? Okay, so now we will wrap up that portion of our meeting, as I had previously stated. And just to reference the agenda, we're going to take it's going to be a little bit out of order because we're going to do the town communications first and then have the joint meeting, because at the end of the town manager communications, we're going to have a little presentation that will dovetail really well with the joint meeting. So without further ado, Town Manager Ellis for the Town Manager Communications, please.
Good evening, Mark Ellis, Town Manager. Not one of my items that I had submitted to you in the report, but as a follow-up to Councilor Hebert's point, I think that when we were communicating regularly in the sense of nonstop and constant for the better part of a year to a year and a half relevant to the CWMP, it was a positive thing for our residents to have that constant flow of information, because this is an evolving plan. What we will do, we just had this conversation amongst our senior managers today, and what we will do, whether it be fiscal or technical or regulatory, or I use the word tactical in the sense of what DPW is doing out in the field with construction is tactical. we're going to have regular communications, weekly communications, whether it be the town manager, community updates, whether it's specific to DPW or any other department. So, Councilor Hebert, thank you. And we are working with Councilor Levesque and Councilor Schnapp to make sure that workshops, for example, on fiscal policy, and some of the issues we're going to have, the joint workshop with our Board of Health this evening are occurring, and they are regular, and our residents remain informed. So thank you for bringing that up. But I think that we need to have weekly, at a minimum, updates for our residents as we progress through this, because there is still a host of issues as we move forward. Your town manager update for the period of September 3rd through September 16th. We're proceeding with the budget action calendar for FY 2023. As stated at prior town manager communications, we've expanded the action items in the budget calendar to recognize the meetings of the school committee that are being held as they develop their FY 23 proposed operating budget. As noted in the budget action calendar, the joint meeting between town council and school committee is now scheduled for October 21st. Originally, it was the first meeting in October, but it is now on October 21st. We began the removal of barriers on Main Street last night and plan to complete the removal this evening. I also shared with the council earlier today, but it's also posted on our website, the results of surveys and polls taken during our summer season regarding Main Street Hyannis, and they're on the Planning and Development website under Current Projects Main Street 2021. There's also police statistics on things like pedestrian and vehicular accidents, if you'd like to take a look at. Cape Cod Gateway Airport will conduct an in-depth exercise involving safety protocols via a full-scale emergency drill on Tuesday, September 28th at 5 p.m. at the airport grounds in Hyannis. The exercise will simulate a completely mock scenario of an aircraft accident. While the drill takes place, please be advised that there will be active police, fire, and helicopter activity in the vicinity of the airport. The airport will remain open to scheduled and chartered operations during this exercise. And if you have more interest in it, you can contact our airport manager, Katie Service, at 508-775-2020, and she will try to answer any questions you may have. On September 15th, 2021, the Secretary of Housing and Economic Development, Mike Keneally, visited Barnstable for a roundtable discussion regarding the use of the state's ARPA funds. The administration is hopeful that the funds will be distributed to communities in the near future, and will continue to work closely with the Secretary and the administration to secure funding when it does become available. On Thursday, September 9, 2021, the town engineer, Griffin Bowden, attended the Seaport Economic Council meeting. It was at Mass Maritime, where the town of Barnstable was awarded 2 grants totaling $722,400 for engineering and permitting associated with the proposed improvements of Hyannis Harbor. The first grant received was a Seaport Economic Council infrastructure grant in the amount of $465,600 for engineering and permitting of the Bismore Park Marina Improvement Project, which will include reconstruction of the Bismore Park Marina bulkhead and adjacent docks and slips. The second grant received was a Seaport Economic Council dredging grant in the amount of $256,800 for the engineering and permitting of the dredging of the Hyannis Inner Harbor. Engineering and permitting of these projects is anticipated to take approximately a year and a half to 2 years, with construction targeted in 2024. We will keep you advised of our progress on these projects, and this does line us up for construction grants in both cases. So good job, staff. We continue to have regular conversations with Vineyard Wind regarding the status of the Phase 1 and Phase 2 Vineyard Wind projects. Vineyard Wind continues to work with the Barnstable staff regarding both Phase 1 and Phase 2. They have commenced construction of Phase 1 and are proceeding with the permitting of Phase 2. We have continued our discussion with Vineyard Wind regarding an update to the existing host agreement for Phase 2 and a potential for Phase 3. There's a resolve before the town council this evening authorizing the town manager to modify the existing host community agreement to reflect the modifications of the Phase 2 project. Basically, it's the same agreement with the modifications relevant to the location where it will land. We will continue negotiating with Vineyard Wind as previously authorized in 2019 on Phase 3, including discussions about a proposed landing and cable routing for a Phase 3. And we'll keep you advised of our progress on this matter. And finally, the Town of Barnstable Department of Public Works announced that sewer construction of the Strawberry Hill Road sewer expansion project will commence on September 20th. If you've driven through the Craigville Beach Road, Strawberry Hill Road area, you have seen activity out there. There's a lot of activity everywhere right now with construction, but please be advised that is going on in a very preliminary sense, but will ramp up considerably on Monday. A groundbreaking ceremony has been scheduled for Friday, September 17th at 11 a.m. for this project. This new gravity sewer for the project will be installed in portions of Craigville Beach Road, Strawberry Hill Road, Woquacket Lane, and Finney's Lane. We had sent you in a prior communication a locus map showing where that is. Additionally, a new submersible pump station will be installed on a town easement at the intersection of Strawberry Hill Road and Craigville Beach Road. It's being coordinated with Vineyard Wind, which will be installing a duct bank and associated utility relocation in the same area as their project has been proposed. Upon the completion of both projects, Vineyard Wind will resurface disturbed roadways within the project areas. And Paul Razula from DPW is the direct contact for it, and best number to reach him at is 508-790-6400. But again, we will be communicating regularly on all aspects of moving forward with this project, and certainly regular, even daily construction updates. That concludes my town manager communication for today.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Any response to the town manager's report, please? Councilor Cullum.
Yes, I just wanted to give a huge thank you to the staff for the grants for Hyannis Harbor. That's great news. I'm sure the Civic Association's excited about that, as we talk a lot about Hyannis's intrinsic village identity and how the harbor is absolutely central to that. So fantastic. Thanks so much for all the hard work.
Thank you, Councilor Cullum. Any other response? Town manager communications. Okay. Town manager Ells, is there any report at all from Director Santos before we move into the joint meeting?
Director Santos has included the CWMP update so that both council and Board of Health will receive it during the next segment of our presentation.
Excellent. Just making sure. Thank you so much. Okay, so at this point in time, I would like to welcome the members of the Board of Health, and thank you for making the time to join us this evening. Really appreciate it, and staff also as well. At this point in time, Chairman John Norman, if you would like to call your meeting to order.
Yes, thank you for that, President Levesque. I now declare this an open meeting of the Town of Barnstable Board of Health. Roll call, please.
Yes. Dr. Guadagnoli?
Here.
Tom Lee,
Here.
Dr. Laskowski.
Lusko, here.
Sorry.
There's enough syllables in that name to begin with.
Okay. And John Norman.
Here.
Thank you.
Having a quorum, now this open meeting.
Excellent, thank you. And again, thank you for taking the time to join us. We also have Director Thomas McKean with us as well, and appreciate everyone being here. And to turn it back over to Town Manager Els for our beginning of our workshop, please.
Thank you, President Levesque. And this will be a brief intro by myself, and then I'll turn it over to Director Santos. I will say Tom McKeon pointed out to me this morning, in all of his time here with the town, he couldn't remember another time that there was a joint meeting with our Board of Health and our Town Council. I think, thank you, Town Council, and thank you, Board of Health. Very appropriate given the scale and scope of what we're embarking on with implementation of the CWMP. And that's exactly why we're here, to begin discussion of this. So Dan, if you could move to the next slide for me, I'd appreciate it. So tonight, the objectives of tonight are to assure continued communication between the Town Council and the Board of Health. Certainly, we all work together on a regular basis, and this is a volunteer board. Our Board of Health, and the Board of Health is appointed by the Town Council, and the Board of Health will play a critical role in helping us to assure water resource protection, successful implementation of our CWMP, and again, when we get down to day-to-day, how we will proceed with transitioning a portion of our community from on-site septic to sewer, that is really the focus of tonight's workshop, is to talk about that piece of this. And it's not all of the pieces. This is one specific piece. So Dan's going to provide an update to the CWMP. We're going to discuss the coordinated efforts in Barnstable during this implementation. And I will say to you that our Board of Health and our health staff and DPW have been meeting and are regularly meeting and discussing this issue that I'm going to point out, and that I've already pointed out, and other issues which we're going to hold to a future meeting. We do plan to discuss additional workshops at an appropriate time in the future to address other relevant issues, such as potential to designate areas in town as nitrogen sensitive and the use of innovative on-site systems. I think later this evening, we have an executive session. I think if we hold with more the existing sewering connections and the areas to be sewered and how we will coordinate to see those connected and what to do with the properties in the interim, that's appropriate for this evening. And I think after we have the executive session, you'll realize why this other issue is something that we will hold to a future workshop. At this point, I'll stop and say thank you again and turn it over to Director Santos.
Thank you, Manager Els. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the Town Council, Mr. Chairman, and members of the Board of Health. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So our comprehensive wastewater management plan update, and I'll try to go through this fairly quickly, but I think it's important to review a number of these items. For regulatory approval of our comprehensive wastewater management plan, that has been fully approved and vetted by the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act office in Boston, as well as the Department of Environmental Protection and the Cape Cod Commission. So we have been fully approved to proceed with our plan, which we have been doing, and we have obviously a major and significant, if not symbolic, event occurring tomorrow with our groundbreaking. State revolving funds, this is the program that provides low interest loans, zero interest loans in some cases, and principal subsidies for water and wastewater projects. We submit all of our projects to them to take advantage of this funding if possible. And we've been very successful over the years. And in fact, this year, we have, on the most recent intended use plan, two of our major projects included on that plan. So that's good news for us. Joint Base Cape Cod, the latest information on that as of today is that the Air Force and Converge, who is our partner, the private entity, our partner, they're negotiating this. It's still looking very good. They're making progress. Their goal is to conclude these negotiations by the end of this year and turn over those assets to Converge, which, as you may remember, provides us basically flexibility and opportunity in the future if we find it necessary for treatment and or disposal of wastewater. As a reminder, our CWMP is 3 major phases, 10 years each. Here I show you the first phase projects, and there's 19 projects in total, and you can see it occurs over a significant portion of the town of Barnstable, mostly in the center, down the center of our community, based on Route 28 and north and south of that. And then north and south from Covell's Beach, Craigville Beach area, up through Lake Wequaquet. So project updates. Strawberry Hill Road Sewer Expansion Project. That contract was awarded to CC Construction. They are located in Dennis, local contractor. I think the Chambers of Commerce and local community loves to see that. We do it as much as we can, although we're not, we're somewhat restricted as we have to take the lowest bidder. But we're fortunate to have competent bidders on the Cape that we can award this work to. That is $11.7 million contract. They were underway this week on Craigville Beach Road and Strawberry Hill Road, conducting test pits and doing some selective tree pruning work. That work will continue, but work will begin in earnest on next Monday. And that will start at the intersection of Strawberry Hill Road and Craigville Beach Road. And we will be working north on Strawberry Hill Road towards Pine Street. There will be road closures, detours, and we will provide plenty of notification through press releases, through direct mailing, through meetings, as the manager said. We have a number of means of getting the information out, but people should be aware that starting soon and for the next many, many years throughout the town, there will be detours, road closures, and we will work as best we can with the police, the fire station, the school, the fire departments, the school department relative to bus routes to make sure that we keep it as organized and as smooth as possible. But our public should know that there may be some inconvenience in the future, but it is all for a worthy cause, obviously. Vineyard Wind is commencing construction as well. We'll start their construction at the substation in Independence Park, which is the termination of their project. And they will be starting on October 18th, the horizontal drilling operation at Covell's Beach. That Covell's Beach parking lot, in addition to being a site of construction, will also be used as construction staging for both Vineyard Wind contractors as well as our contractors. So as a result, quite a bit of that parking lot will be blocked off, but we've worked out a plan to keep one of the entrances open and a number of parking spaces in the handicap spaces available on the west end of the parking lot. And again, people should be very cautious about traveling in the vicinity of construction and the construction staging areas. So that project is anticipated to be completed in the spring of 2023. And here is a graphic showing the location from Coles Beach all the way up to the Vineyard Wind substation. And the sewer work is primarily in the red, as you can see here. And then the yellow is the sewer work that's already started basically, but will begin in earnest on Monday, and that will go right through November of this year. Route 28 sewer expansion project, this the council appropriated $22 million for recently, and we have been approved for state revolving fund low interest loan for this project. We are working on the design and permitting, and we anticipate bidding for this project in this winter. And this includes the major pump station that will be located at the intersection of Route 28 and Finney's Lane. And you can see all the red lines here, which are major trunk lines getting the wastewater from this area of the intersection back to the wastewater pollution control facility. We have a number of other projects in the hopper that have been funded by the town council through appropriations. And they include the Finney's Lane sewer expansion project. You can see these identified on the graphic here, up along Finney's Lane. Long Pond sewer expansion project, which is in the tan orange, just below and around Long Pond. That project also includes a pump station at Mother's Park, which we've been working at getting preliminary design. We recently met with Councilor Atzelis to discuss some options there and some alternatives. And in the very near future, we will be going to the Civic Association as well as the community in the area to present our alternatives and our recommended alternatives, which will, at this point, I can tell you that they will pretty much leave Mother's Park itself unscathed. And it looks as if we would be able to, at the conclusion of that, move towards having the Main Street home that we purchased in case we needed that to go back to the public-private roles. The Route 28 Centerville and Marston's Mills, that's Finney's Lane to Route 149. We will be requesting funds for design, final design for that this fall. All these three projects, as I've discussed in the past, have had their survey work done, and we have submitted, received and are reviewing that survey work. And the next part of that will be doing the conceptual designs based on that important survey work. Route 28 and Yarmouth Road intersection, that's the major MassDOT intersection reconstruction project where the CAM building will be coming down. We will be putting sewer and water infrastructure in the ground as part of that project, saving the town of Barnstable a significant amount of money because, as with the Vineyard Wind project, the state will be repaving and completing that project, and we'll be able to save that part of it. That was just recently bid, and bids were open. They have not yet awarded it. I don't anticipate any real work there until the spring. We have a project to evaluate nitrogen removal improvements at the water pollution control facility. This will allow us to reduce the nitrogen in the effluent that comes out of the facility and goes into the groundwater for the future, for all of our future flows that come from there. We have issued a request for proposals and interviewed consultants. We are in the process of awarding a contract to Wright Pierce consulting firm from Maine. That evaluation is planned to be completed in the spring of 2022. We also embarking on a water pollution control facility engineering study. This is part of our permit review every 5 years. part of the permit was that we were required to do an entire study of the facility to make sure that it's state of the art, it's meeting all of our permit requirements, and will continue to do so into the future as it serves the town in the comprehensive wastewater management plan. So that request for proposals is currently in preparation stage. So that's the update on the CWMP. And so relative to Board of Health coordination issues, we have worked very closely over the last year or so with the board itself. We've been to Board of Health meetings. We have met with members of the Board of Health. We have met continually with the department head, Brian Florence, as well as Tom McKean, the health division supervisor, to work on a number of these questions and issues well in advance of having to deal with them. And as you heard tonight, people are starting to ask questions because we're providing more information. We're out in the community more and letting them know this is coming. And we've sent letters directly to people and saying, this is what's going to happen over the next couple of years. This is how it will affect you. And if you have any questions, let us know. So those questions are coming in, and we're happy to work with every single property owner on their own property. So some of the questions that we're wrestling with, and we don't have final answers. We've made a lot of progress, but we will be presenting that to town manager as well as the town council and the Board of Health. And so these are, as you see the first question here, how will the town address properties that have the ability to connect to sewer but have not yet connected to public sewer? This is salient relative to Stewart's Creek, which was put in 10 years ago. Properties there have still not connected because they have waivers for a variety of reasons. And what we intend to do as we move ahead in the CWMP project is to make sure that we address these questions up front, that, and this relates to the second question, is how will the future sewer properties ensure connection to the public sewer? Well, the answer is basically properties will be required to connect to the sewer. This is not optional. Now, the question really is when, and that will be on a property by property basis. Basically, we're looking and talking now with the Board of Health about, in the health division, about, there has to be some reasonable number of months once it becomes live to connect. And a lot of that has to do with just workflow. If we bring hundreds or thousands of properties online at one time, there aren't enough contractors available to make all those connections. So we need to provide enough time to allow that to occur. And so there's lots of reasons why, and there's actually too many. There's infinite number of reasons why people think they may not need to connect, and we're getting those questions now. Should it be in the backyard, in the side yard? So what we want to do is identify as many of those issues up front and have frequently asked question type of thing, so that hopefully we can address as many of these issues. And we want to have a very consistent and standard approach to how we address these. But it's important that people understand that they will be required to connect. And two reasons for that. The primary reason is we have to meet our water quality standards and the total maximum daily loads for nutrients in our coastal water bodies. And the only way to do that is by reducing nitrogen that goes into the groundwater from septic systems. So unless we connect septic systems to the sewer plant, they will continue to put nitrogen into the groundwater, and we're not going to be able to meet our standards. So that's the primary reason why people have to connect. And the other reason is we have to pay for the construction as well as the operation and maintenance of the wastewater pollution control facility. And we can't expand the facility, build all these additional ancillary facilities, and not have income from users to pay those costs. And then finally, which is probably the major questions we're getting now, is properties that are in either phase 1, 2, or 3, or not in any phase at all, how will they be handled relative to property transfers, septic system inspections that fail, outright failures of systems. There's all kinds of reasons why systems need to be upgraded. And we heard it tonight, a member of the public asking about, well, what do I have to connect to the sewer if I've just put a system in 5 years, within 5 years? So because we've been working with the Board of Health, they understand, or the Health Division and Tom McCann's folks, they know very well the order of our projects and when things are going to be constructed. So when they get these requests, they're looking at them and they're forwarding every one of these to us. So we are working hand in hand on every one of these sites and looking at them individually and making decisions. And it's very hard to just have a blanket type of policy on whether you connect or not, because if we can limp a system along, frankly, for 2 years by making a repair rather than replacing the system or putting in a tight tank, then we're going to work with the community and the homeowners to do that. We don't want people to spend any more money than they need to on this. It doesn't make any sense to put in a brand new system. So we're looking at some kind of time frames about, how many years will a system operate versus when you'll have to connect, depending on what phase you're in. So these are very complicated. Most of it's technical, but some of it is legal and just, strategic. If there's 2 projects, should the home be in one project or another? Is there a better reason? One came up recently, for example, and we're going to work with the homeowner because, when the sewer goes by a home, we're going to put a stub where we think is the closest location to where that septic system might be. But a homeowner recently contacted us and said, that's a great idea. However, I have these trees and these stone walls, and there's these height differences with the yard. If I were to connect with the other project in front of my house, there would be a much less disruption to my property. And, we agree with that. It makes sense that when we're just looking on a GIS map, we don't really know that yet. Not until you get on the ground and get into these projects do you really understand that. And so we've staffed up with some very competent people, both in Board of Health and in my department, that are personally working with all of the people that call and have these questions. We're visiting their homes, and we're going to continue to work out these issues with them. Our goal is that the town, all the town departments work together. We all understand what direction we're heading, and that it's in the best interests of our residents. We'll continue to do that. So that's my brief update on the CWMP and some of the issues we're working with the board on. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have, or just participate in the overall discussion. So thank you. And I will stop sharing my screen so we can all see one another.
Thank you, Director Santos. Really appreciate that. Obviously, this is a living, breathing joint communication here. So, again, first time that we've had a discussion like this. At this point in time, I'd just like to open the floor up to and the John Norman, Chair of the Board of Health. If you have, I want to give you the opportunity, if you have any comments that you want to make at this point in time, or any of your members first.
Thank you for that, President Levesque. Just basically like Dan said, we've been working very closely with DPW, and we'll continue to do that in all of these scenarios. Because there was no real set policy for these upcoming projects, we've just been on a board level, all the members kind of agreed that it's very important to give to the community the ability to look at each and individual property owner's situation Obviously, the pro forma from the town management perspective is, without ratepayers, this project falls apart. These projects fall apart pretty quickly without ratepayers. So we, absolutely understand that it's going to be critical to get as many properties hooked up as quickly as possible. And, we also understand everybody's got different scenarios, different situations that they're dealing with financially, logistically, the properties, things like that. So, we've just basically said, we're going to be available to listen and look at each individual property that has a desire to waiver. We're going to encourage and do whatever we can at a board level. And, fortunately, Mass General Law, 83 Section 11 gives us, a lot of power to order people to hook up. And then, where do you go from there? It's like, we're going to be looking for some guidance from legal as far as what is going to be a scenario where if there are properties where people, refuse to hook up, or they want to fight it, or they want to just, let it go and let it go and let it go, we're just going to assign $200 a day fines, and it accumulates. And then what? Do we start seizing property? I mean, so there's obviously a myriad of issues that we're going to be dealing with, and we don't want to get to that. We want to encourage people to hook up. We want to, work with them and give them information that, look, a lot of the restrictions, especially depending on where you live in the town, a lot of the restrictions that may have hampered you or prevented you flat out from putting an addition on or adding a bedroom to have an elderly family member move in with you, or someone else to move in with you to care for them, those options are going to start being opening up as you hook up to the sewer. So, it's the carrot that we want to start showing people that this is going to be a good thing. It's going to benefit the environment. It's going to benefit the revenue, tax dollars, new tax growth dollars for the town in many different aspects. So, we stand ready and open to all suggestions. I know, there's been formulations created in the past that allowed people that had, like a 5-year-old septic system to, delay hooking up for 10 years and 12 years. And it was a whole system that was put together for Stewart's Creek. And, here we are years and years later, and we're at about, 69%, hookup, which, to me is not acceptable. So we need to start getting a lot of these, homes that are still not hooked up. That doesn't mean that we don't have, an open heart. We had a property that came before us at our last meeting, a 94-year-old woman, no ability to financially pay to have the hookup done. She lives in the house by herself. She, we researched it and looked into it. The property has a reverse mortgage on it. There was literally no funds or resources to tap into to pay for it. And we granted her an additional extension, basically based on, her longevity, that as soon as the property changes hands at time of escrow or time of moving the property, that's when they'll have to hook up immediately. That we're not going to let this go on and on. But we also, we have to care for our neighbors, the ones that are going to be in situations, and overall, balance what is the environmental impact of one single person living in a home, versus, again, where do we go? Do we just start assigning a daily fine as we're allowed to, or eventually that builds up, and does legal have to start seizing properties or putting liens on properties, enforcing? So we want to be soft-hearted in one aspect and listen to people's problems and why they're not able to hook up, but we also want to encourage and get people to hook up. So we stand ready, as I think we have a tremendous vast resource of knowledge on our board. We have 2 medical doctors, we have an engineer, we've got a lot of resources and abilities to tap into a lot of knowledge at our board. So we stand ready to assist in any way we can, and continue to work with Dan Santos and his staff as these projects start to move forward.
Thank you, Chairman Norman. Appreciate that. And I just wanted to turn it over to Town Manager Mark Ells, if you wanted to add any comment at this point in time before I open it up the floor to questions.
Thank you, Mark Ellis, Town Manager. I think Dan and John have done a good job in summarizing the very close coordination that we have moving forward with this project. It's critical for us to be successful in implementing the CWMP, but also being there in support of our residents. This is enormous on both fronts. I think it's very important that this meeting's happening and that meetings such as this continue to happen with the Board of Health. The Board of Health is, as John Norman said, is a very powerful board. And certainly the authority to require sewer connection falls to the board. But more broadly, managing the disposal of wastewater through on-site disposal also falls with the board. So we need to be thoughtful. I need to, and I believe the board knows that we've made the commitment to provide the support, whether it be staff or otherwise, that our Board of Health needs to be able to help us navigate this. And so, I think there's been many questions, many times, some confusion on where authority falls. But it's clear that the Board of Health has the authority on requiring the connections. They also have, again, a lot more authority, and I think we should continue to understand that and make sure that the direction they're going aligns with our council's strategic plan and the other, larger efforts, the more comprehensive efforts that we're embarking on in the community, so that the Board of Health knows exactly what those are, and they can be and have been extremely supportive as we move forward together. So that's what I'm viewing. And but I think for this to be successful long term, we've started exactly what we need to start, which is this good communication and a clear path forward. So thank you, President Levesque.
Thank you, Town Manager Ells. I appreciate that. So at this point in time, I would like to open the floor for councilors to ask questions to staff, obviously to Chairman Norman, and of course, Chairman Norman, feel free to direct a question to one of your members as well. So Councilor Cullum, I see you have your hand raised.
Yes, thank you. And nice to see you again, John. So I guess my question is this: would members of the Board of Health be interested in going to Civic Association meetings where questions remain or linger about hookups? Because Swartz Creek is my precinct, and I consider 67% hookup not good enough, especially for mandating the rest of the town to hook up. And I know there'll be direct questions from the Civic Association, and it would be good to have an authority there. Would you or any of your board members be willing to come to a Civic Association meeting with me?
I'm always happy to. Obviously, we've got two medical doctors and an engineer on the board, and they're very, very busy gentlemen. At the beginning of this pandemic, I quickly came to the realization that appointing a one-person committee of Dr. Guadagnoli would be the most beneficial to the town. And I know he's spent many, many hours with Tom McKeon coordinating a lot of our pandemic response for the town. And subsequently with the CWMP and the issues there, I had appointed a one-man committee of Tom Lee to work directly with the DPW on developing a lot of the interim regulations that we might be modifying, because obviously there's areas of the town that could be 20, 30 years before they get sewer, and we need to start addressing those sooner than 20, 30 years. Yeah, absolutely. For me personally, I'm happy to always answer questions for people. Jen, you know that, and anytime anyone have a direct question of what we're doing, if there's a specific issue or item that I can't answer, I would definitely be able to communicate with other members of the board and the Board of Health, the Health Department staff, which do a incredible job to be able to get specific numbers. I know that I think 17 properties, their timeline, the connection policy timeline that they took advantage of that was created back in Stewart's Creek for people that had, recently put new septic systems in. I know 17 letters just went out recently informing them that their timeline was due to expire. So, hopefully we're going to start pushing a lot of these properties that do have the ability to hook up to start hooking up. So, but as far as any of the community villages, any type of outreach that we could do, I'd be happy to, as long as it fits within our schedules, work schedules. Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be great, because there's new leadership at the Hyannis Civic Association. Then I think it would go a long way to kind of help them. I think for all of us, actually, it's good to just reach back and bring everybody on board right now. I mean, Stewart's Creek happened the year before I became a counselor, which is 11 years ago. The sewering of Stewart's Creek did. So I'm glad those letters went out. I think it's time now that we all step up to the plate to work on our water and our estuaries. So thank you very much. I'll pass your name along, and we'll take you, John. We don't mind.
Very good. Councilor Hebert, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And thank you to the Board of Health and also to DPW for this great report. And so we can get started and we move forward, and it's very, very exciting. I want to specifically thank the Board of Health. I saw the kindness in the faces as I kept looking at our Hollywood Square pictures of each of our good board members. Like you say, we are blessed to have such a quality board of health. And what was clear on the faces of everyone is, and I keep telling the citizens, this is not to punish anybody or to make anybody suffer or to pressure anybody. This is a town effort to clean up our environment, to protect our homes, our drinking water. It's a common sense approach, but people are worried because it involves dollars and cents. So I thank the Board of Health, and we need your guidance. But at the same time, if we need some financial creativity that the Board of Health needs to assist to getting it done, individual. I hope that you can work with the town manager and the town council. I had said a while back, if it's a dire situation and they don't have the money, but it's clearly polluting, then we got to find the money and we put a lien against the house, and that gets into legal. And I'm not there, but anything that we have to do to clean up our water, and then when that house does transfer, that lien is there. It's going to be paid. We can put 2% interest or whatever you want, but we need to work with the Board of Health to make this as painless as we can for all of our citizens, and I believe that we will be blessed by doing so. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Councilor Hebert. Councilor Starr, please.
Thank you very much. I first want to say thanks to Mr. Santos and the Board of Health, and I'm glad that you're meeting constantly and working together. That's very, very encouraging. I think there's a little urgency to this process. That I know the first houses won't be hooked up and pumping for probably 2 years, but people are making decisions now about when they get hooked up 2 years from now. So the sooner we can, as Mr. Santos said, we're looking for sort of consistent standard approach. So the sooner we can get to some standards, the better. I know that Board of Health can deal with individual. There are going to be lots of people coming to the Board of Health asking for waivers, and the clearer we have our decisions made ahead of time, the better. So I hope that process can move quickly. They were talking about the lady who couldn't hook up was given a waiver. I think Mr. Hebert hit it pretty well, that we should step in and with Stewart's Creek, maybe that's fine, but with the rest of the town, we're talking about TMDLs that need to go down to 0 in some places. So we should be paying for that. I don't know. We should pay it up front somehow, and like you said, either put a lien on it or find some way to make that happen. We can't be giving lots of waivers as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Starr. Councilor Rep Grissetti, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good to see everyone. I'm happy to see the Board of Health. As you said, John, you have all the power. You really do. I'm looking forward, though, to the additional workshops that Town Manager mentioned, because I think that's at the meat of a lot of the issues, especially in areas where they're in phase 3, 30 years out, or in stage 1 and 2. I'm still not clear what years that equates to, but and the use of IA systems. And it's hopeful for me that to tide someone over to them being sewered, rather than installing a Title V, which has proven not to be effective in reducing the nitrogen, to look to these IA systems and perhaps assisting homeowners with some monies for speccing such a system to help carry them over to or to prevent them from having to hook up to the sewer, provided that they get approved by DEP. As I said, I'm concerned about the managing of the on-site systems that are existing in the town and those that won't see sewer ever again, or ever, or for decades out. So I guess I'm going to stay tuned and be engaged until then. But I think it's important that we have this conversation and to keep the lines of communication open. You talk about sending out letters with regard to Stewart's Creek, and I guess I'm not really sure what the policy that was set on mandating hookups when that project was put in. But I think it's time to set that policy with the Board of Health and the Town Council, so that we know in phase 1, 2, and 3, you have so much time to hook up, or else. I'm not sure what the else is, but we have to determine that sooner rather than later, I'd say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rep Grissetti. I thought Deb, Councilor Dagwan, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank the Board of Health for being here tonight. It's nice to be able to see the members of the board, and I think for the public to know who you are as well. Good to see you, John. John and I came on the council at the same time, so I've known him for a long time. So it's always nice to see him. And I think that the fact that this is such a tough job to do. I appreciate the fact that John has tried to delegate everybody out to do some specific tasks, and that he's offered also to visit our civic associations. Our town employees are very good about doing that. Last night, Elizabeth Jenkins came to the Hyannis Civic Association. She's been there several times, so they're very good about responding to our civic association, at least the Greater Hyannis Civic Association that I've been a member of for many, many years. But I wonder, John, if there's a need for more people on your board. Enforcement is a big issue with this, and something my Councilor Rapicetti just spoke about, some of the places that are never going to be, assessed or looked at. And is there any way that we're having an opportunity to get out and really look at some of these systems and make sure that they're not failing or causing problems until something can be done? So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's nothing like having a huge board. There's 13 of us, and it's difficult sometimes just to get a decision with this many people. But I'm just wondering, would that be beneficial to you or to this group? Anybody, that's a part of the group would feel that that might be helpful to have some more people.
Yeah, I mean, that, it is difficult because as a 3-member board, if 2 of us get together, it's quorum. So we're always careful to avoid conversations outside of an actual meeting because it immediately becomes quorum. So when I've been presented with issues like the start of the pandemic and we need to have someone available to Tom and his staff to answer questions. And it was just, it just worked out, unbelievably well for the town of Barnstable to have Dr. Guadagnoli on the board. And as a high-ranking member of the Cape Cod Healthcare Group, able to open up that line of communication and then just have a direct conduit of information and updates and constant, be able to get the information needed to make decisions and, be able to work with the business community. We tried to, roll back a lot of the requirements for outdoor dining, things like that, to quickly help our business community and understanding that we still had an obligation for public health. But, these were tough times and these were very unique times and we needed to react quickly. But like anything else, some of the boards, and I remember from my days of, being on the appointments committee, you had trouble sometimes filling boards. So I don't want to create another burden of adding a bigger board and then put the burden on the council to have to find people to fill those positions. But, I welcome a bigger committee. I think it would be, one of those things where at least then you could have, 2 people serve as a subcommittee and be able to attend meetings with DPW or, with the hospital staff or whoever, whatever the issue comes up. I also wanted to just address a little bit of what Jessica said. We are so blessed to have an organization like the Barnstable Clean Water Coalition in this town. We've been working very closely with them and have offered publicly, I've stated it publicly, we will do whatever we can do to assist them in their projects. The data that we're seeing coming out of these new Nitro E systems is nothing short of amazing. I mean, we're taking an average septic system of 45 to 60 parts per milliliter. These new systems are reducing it down to 10 to 12 parts per milliliter, and we're also seeing things that the sewer treatment plant can't even deal with as far as emerging contaminants and what it's able to remove. So we are doing our best to expedite and push that system to get up to the 50 needed under the provisional permit that was granted by DEP, get the data, get it to DEP and get Mass DEP to, quite frankly, get off their duffs and get this as a general permitting ability, because these systems are not nearly as expensive as the typical traditional denitrification system, and they're seeing tremendous results from it. So, I envision a time, hopefully, where those areas in town that are 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and some never, eventually guiding them towards these type of systems that go in, that can be modified into an existing Title V system. You don't have to rip the whole thing out and do a whole new system and get these numbers, drastically lower immediately. So, we've worked with that group and encouraged them to do as much as they can do. And it's been a great partnership as far as I'm concerned, and the numbers look great and the future looks very good. So we may be getting to a time where we're able to make that a town-wide requirement, that when your system fails and you got to upgrade, we want you to put one of these systems in with it. And it's, financially not a huge burden. And if you're, 10, 15 years away from sewering, you're going to reduce your nitrates down to, like I said, 10 to 12 parts per milliliter on some of these newer systems.
Excellent. Thank you for that. I will come back to you, Councilor Starr. I just want to give everybody else a chance, if that's okay. Vice President Schnepp, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to echo my fellow councilors in thanking the Board of Health, all 4 of you, for being with us tonight. That's a large commitment. You have meetings regularly, and so thank you for being here. Dan, also, I really felt that with your presentation, all of the things that are finally coming to fruition, and your presentation was very clear on what was happening next, and it's very exciting. I just have a couple of primarily technical questions. In your presentation, Dan, you mentioned that the Board of Health has, or I don't know if it's a Board of Health, but when there's a transfer of property and there is a failed system, that you do have to upgrade that system and currently to a Title V. Does the Board of Health have discretion on those real estate transfers to waive that upgrade, or is that something that is kind of state law and has to happen? I don't know who answers that.
Yeah, I'll let the chair of the Board of Health take that. I think, you know, it's complicated because someone who's buying a home doesn't want to buy a failed septic system, obviously.
Exactly, right.
Yeah, Vice President Schnepp, it's a multi-headed hydra. Unfortunately, it's not only boards of health and local jurisdiction. It's the banking, the lenders. They want their property to be guaranteed and to be if they're going to lend the money for the new buyers, they want to make sure that it has a home inspection, a septic inspection, meets all the criteria. Homes that have a failed septic system, they can get an estimate, they can get a permit pulled, and then they can put the money in escrow. Once your septic permit is pulled, you do have some time before you have to actually install it, put it in the ground. So yes, if someone in the scenario you said, if someone was to have a failed septic system and it was inspected during the transfer of property, and they came to us and said, the new buyers came to us and said, we want a waiver, we might be able to grant it, but the bank that's lending the new buyers the money may say, no, you have to get a permit, you have to get this, not necessarily in the ground and a certificate of compliance issued, but you're going to have to put 150% of the estimated cost of the new system in an escrow account to guarantee that our investment is protected, speaking from a banking perspective. But the Board of Health does have the authority to grant, waivers and extensions and waive the time commitments of Title V.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's good to know. And I know, having watched a couple of your meetings, there's all sorts of variables that go into the requests for waivers that you entertain at your meetings. I had a comment, and it's relative to the sewer ordinance that we just passed. I believe we included the ability for homeowners that are low income and over the age of 65 to be able to basically get a lien on their property for the costs of both the sewer connection and also their assessment. And Mark or Dan, let me know if or Mark Milne, let me know if I'm not characterizing that properly. I believe the 94-year-old that you granted a waiver extension would not have been eligible for that. But I think that's an important consideration for anybody who is going to be hooking up to the new sewer, that if there's hardship, that there is possibly a way around that doesn't require us to waive the actual connection.
Your statement is correct, Councilor.
Thank you, Mark.
And just to dovetail on that, there's a difference between someone that has a certified failed septic system and the ability of them to borrow from, say, like a county loan program, because you can get a county loan for hooking up to town sewer, but you have to have a failed septic system. So that's another one of the issues we'll be, dealing with, is people who are going to say, I have a perfectly working septic system. Why do I have to hook up to town sewer? And, I can't borrow because the county program is only eligible to failed septic systems. So, there may be, a point in time where some sort of creative financing, may have to come into play at a town level or county level or state level to help these homeowners out that are, you know, tapped out. Their equity line is all the way up to 80%. They don't have the ability to pay for it. They want to hook up, they just can't pay for it. And some sort of long-term borrowing, you know, some sort of, you know, creative programs may have to be, you know, financed with some revenue.
What, if I might, President Levesque?
Yes, please. I was just going to ask you to.
Mark
Director Milne,
here
yes.
as well, but
Yes.
we've already built that into the sewer assessment ordinance. If the property owner connects at the time of the assessment, you can roll that into the assessment and pay it upfront, or you can pay it over 30 years. So there is that option if the property owner decides that that's appropriate for them. But we can certainly look at others, and that's part of the ongoing discussions that we were talking about during town manager communication with our residents, and the fiscal policy that we still need to continue to look at and develop. So, but there is one option that we built right into the sewer assessment. Mark, I don't know if I missed any aspect of that.
No, sir. You characterized that correctly.
Thank you. Thank you, Town Manager Ellis. Thank you, Director Milne. Appreciate that. Any other, Councilor Neary, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for the presentations, and it's good to have the Board of Health here. Going forward is going to be let's just say, maybe some moments of being a little bit uncomfortable with the residents of the town and some of the demands that are placed upon them. I certainly understand the need for understanding and empathy when it comes to the individual property owners and their specific concerns and their hardship. And I hope that when a resident and the board comes across some extreme circumstances, that some assistance can be attained. A lot of this conversation has been about the actual resident that's hooking up to the plan, but ultimately, I think what's going to happen is we are all really embarking on a very costly process, which will frankly involve all the taxpayers of the town to fund this nitrogen reduction project, in effect, is what it is. So really, in the end, for the taxpayers' dollars to be well spent, this project must require residents whose home the sewer passes their door. They have to connect to that system. And I think that's really ultimately what is going to be in the best interest of not only the taxpayer dollars, but the town. And ultimately what we're trying to achieve is the nitrogen reduction. So again, the conversation, a lot of it is on the hookup charges and connection fees and the whole bit, but it's my belief that in the big picture of things, we're all going to end up paying for this. So just a thought.
Thank you, Councilor Neary. Councilor Bogan, please.
Thank you. I'll just kind of pick up on Councilor Neary's comments. First of all, thank you, Chairman Norman and Dan, for your presentation. You know, I recall when we were talking about the ordinance, Councilor Rapp Grassetti was of the opinion that we should all be in this because this is something that affects everybody. So I certainly appreciate Councilor Neary's position, but it seems the one thing that I found rather heartening and gratifying from the presentation is that there is a little bit of tough love, but there is a little bit of compassion in extreme circumstances. So I agree with Councilor Neary. Look, the only way this is going to work is that everybody plays their part. And I know it's easy for me to say, because I may not be burdened with a certain circumstance, but I did hear the chairman say they are listening to those concerns and they have tried to exercise a certain level of compassion. But at the end of the day, I do agree with Councilor Neary. The only way this works is if those are the exception rather than the rule. And I think what I'm hearing is the Board of Health and the town representatives are working hard to see that we limit those to the extent that that is possible. So I certainly thank you for your attentiveness and your work on this issue, because these are not easy issues and they're not going to get easier as we go down the road. But I'm comfortable that we will get to the right place. And that includes, as Councilor Raccorsetti referenced, the implementation of innovative alternatives to the extent that they continue to prove themselves feasible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hogan. Appreciate your wisdom. Any other, I know Councilor Starr had a follow-up comment. Any other councilors want to speak before I circle back? Excellent. Councilor Starr, please.
Thank you, Mr. Levesque. I wanted to go back to Mr. Norman's comment about the Barnstable Clean Water Coalition, and just to echo the fact that it's such a wonderful local asset that we have working in tandem with us. And I'm hoping that if there's any way that we as a town council can help them along. I know the DPW has done what they can. It would be nice to help them move forward collecting their data, because it's important to us to have that as soon as possible. And and we all know that it's a proprietary situation where we can only get involved at a certain level, but it would be nice to help where we can. So, and if anybody has any proposals for the town council, let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Starr. Councilor Raccorsetti, please.
With regard to Councilor Dagwan's question, enlarging the Board of Health, I'm happy to take that and put it on an appointments committee agenda and look to offering amendments to the administrative code to expand the Board of Health to 5, if that's the desire. So I'll take my direction. I think I heard you, Chairman Norman, that you wouldn't be object to that. So that's something that we're happy to take a look at for you. And I'm sure we've got plenty of volunteers willing to serve on the Board of Health.
Yeah, we I think it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, the alternate was added. There was not in the administrative code a place for an alternate. It was just 3 members, and if for some reason 2 couldn't make it, then you didn't have quorum and you couldn't hold a meeting. But I believe about, like I said, 2 or 3 years ago, an alternate position was added, and we've had and it becomes kind of like a warm-up session. They kind of learn the ropes, learn the way of the board, and then when there's an opening, they step in. So it's worked out good. So I have no objection whatsoever to expanding, because I believe all boards, even years and years ago when I served on the zoning board, I always used to say, having a board with multiple people brings multiple flavors to the abilities and multiple talents to tap into, because not every single thing that comes before you is necessarily your expertise.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Councilor Hebert, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And so kind of a follow-up, and there's several points to this. One, I want to thank, again, Director Santos for the team that he's put together. It's literally the logistical part of this. It's like a huge military operation with many, many moving parts. And certainly the town has done some great stuff and putting some real heart and soul into this whole project. So just the other day, Stephen Porter, your construction inspector here on Strawberry Hill Road, he came right up to the door, knocked, made sure we had the paperwork that we've already sent in to look at how we're going to hook up, exactly where we're going to hook up. He admitted that he could not come into the house. He was not here to give expert advice on where that connection was going to be. And so I've already reached out to a contractor to get him in here. But just in my own yard, the sewer and the water and the gas are all going to be cramped in about a 10-foot space. So that's why I'm bringing a contractor in and say, how are we going to handle this, make sure that we meet all the codes. So I'm wondering if in the Board of, not so much the Board of Health, because everybody's full-time employed, you all have a life to lead and your professional lives, if in the health department itself, if it would be necessary to hire another staff person that would be able to answer and do more on-site answer question to question, just kind of like what the DPW is trying to do to cover individual places because the workload, I mean, is astronomical. In time, in 30 years, it'll be 11,000 connections that you're going to be dealing with to just put this into some scope. But right now, we're working on only phase one. And as I talk to citizens, they're acting like they're all going to get hooked up tomorrow and that they're responsible for the entire cost of the sewer project. And, I said to one just tonight, I said, nobody is going to lose their house. We're not trying to create homelessness here. We're trying to make everything right for all of us. So I think also in our process, if we see that we have to add to the staff, but maybe that's something we need to be asked to do to appropriate more money if that's going to simplify all this. I mean, it is a gigantic operation and we have no idea, just from what I'm seeing starting, this is really kudos to what you've already done, but I know it's going to get much heavier and much thicker. So I think that we have to be willing as a council to do all that we can to simplify it for both the Board of Health, the Health Department, and the DPW. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hebert. Any other comments, questions for either Director Santos, Board of Health, Town Manager Ells? Well, at this point in time, Councilor, I should say, Chairman Norman, did you want to open the floor to maybe your members of the Board of Health if they want to comment at all, or if you want to have a follow-up?
Sure. If there are any members of the Board of Health that have any comments or questions for Town Manager or Town Councilors?
They did take the time to be with us, so I want to give them the opportunity to share if they felt so inclined. So I really do appreciate it. Ooh, there we go. Mr. Tom Lee, how are you?
President, good evening for all councilors. The connecting to the sewer is not a simple matter. We have to listen to all the situations, and just like John said, we have to listen to all the cases and try to resolve the issues. And I've been discussing that, constantly with the DPW, Rob Steen, Dan Santo, and so forth in terms of looking at that. And obviously, the enhanced, I call the enhanced IA system for the nitro, it is in our focus of how to implement that in the future. And I think it will be a critical piece of the toolbox that we can use. And obviously, financing is one of the problems that we have to face, we can help the residents in terms of doing the changeover to that. So I'm hearing all this, comments, and thank you for all this. I will keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your service to our town.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Oh, one last thing.
Yes, sir.
I would, in support of that, go to the 5-member board.
Okay. Duly noted. Thank you. Okay, so if there's no other further questions, Councilor Nolan, we will be meeting again. I would invite all the members of the Board of Health, if you kind of wanted to stick around a little bit. You are needed for another part of our meeting later on. And so don't leave quite yet. And but we do need to move forward into the orders of the day. So without further ado, I would close this portion of the meeting. It was a very productive discussion, I thought, very much needed discussion to be had. So again, I would just like to thank Chairman Norman, Mr. Tom Lee, Dr. Guadagnoli, and also Dr. Lesko for participating in this portion. And we owe the council, not only the council and the staff, but our public owes you a great deal of gratitude for volunteering to take on such a enormous task. And another reason why I wanted to have this meeting and talking with Town Manager Els and staff, and also Vice President Schnepp. We just saw the need to have this conversation. I think some things in the past, possibly, it just kind of, it gets pushed on to the Board of Health, but this type of thing needs to be something where we're all on the same page, that it's the council communicating their desires to the Board of Health, the Board of Health telling us what their restrictions are necessarily and what their plan is going to be moving forward, and that information, and also bringing in Director Santos and obviously Town Manager Els and their staff to educate us as we move forward in just, again, connecting all the dots. It's important to have that, united front to help our constituents, to help our citizens of the town of Barnstable to understand the gravitas of what's happening with our wastewater, but also understand and also be sensitive to the fact that there's mitigating circumstances, there's hardship, and those needs to be understood, addressed, and people need to be able to make the best educated decision possible, and understand that this is for the benefit of the future of our community. So thank you for that. So with those words, if I can ask Vice President Schnepp if we could act on the minutes, please.
Excuse me, could I interrupt? I just have a
Absolutely.
question. We opened, President Levesque, we opened a meeting with the Board of Health. Are we closing that meeting, or were they continuing that meeting?
They're continuing it to the, and we're not going to close it yet because we have to move into, when we move on to executive session. My understanding, unless I'm wrong.
No, they're still in the meeting.
Correct.
They're still in the meeting. They have not adjourned their meeting.
Thank you.
That's okay. Valid question. Thank you for that. Thank you for asking. Vice President Schnepp, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move approval of the minutes of the Town Council meeting held on September 2nd, 2021.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Is there any discussion, please? I'm not seeing any. Assistant Town Clerk Jenna Murphy for the vote, please.
Councilors, Atzlis,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Cullum,
Yes.
Dagwan,
Yes.
Rapcorsetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber.
Yes.
13 yes, it passes.
Excellent. Thank you. And at this point in time, I'd like to open the floor for any communications from elected officials, boards, committees, and staff, commission reports, correspondence, and announcements. Councilor Rapcorsetti, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Couple of things with regards to appointments. I've requested Cindy, and she's updating the agenda, so the discussion on enlarging the Board of Health will be on our Tuesday's agenda for the Appointments Committee. Also, we have an opening in the Planning Board, and on Tuesday we'll be considering, we have 7 applications in hand, and we've interviewed those applicants. So if anyone is still, if you're interested in serving on the Planning Board, we're happy to consider you and get your information into the council staff. Tomorrow would be great. You could do it Monday. We do update the agenda last minute if need be. So, and we appreciate everybody that is serves on our boards, committees, and commissions. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Councilor Rapcorsetti. Councilor Shaughnessy, please.
Thank you, President Levesque. I just want to say that this Sunday, Open Streets returns to Hyannis Main Street from 12 to 4. There are activities galore, and the Main Street will be shut down, and it's going to be a great time. So I would encourage people to come out. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Starr, please.
Thank you, President Levesque. I just want to say that I got a message yesterday about the hazardous waste day at the transfer station has been rescheduled from this Saturday to the Saturday after. I think it's on the September 25th.
Yes, sir.
Is that right? Okay. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Thank you for that update.
Yep.
Councilor Dagwan, please.
Yes, I just wanted to follow up on the Hyannis Open Street. This is our first one in almost 2 years. We're starting back up again. Our second one will be October the 17th. And there's a lot going on. There's a lot of free things, such as free books will be given away, free temporary tattoos for the kids, face painting. There are lots of demonstrations. There'll be sailing skill demonstration, also jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, karate on the village stage at 12:30 to 1:30. It'll be karaoke singing. At 12 to 2 will be storytelling on the village green stage. And from 1:30 to 2, Keith Rosary will be doing martial art demonstration there. And we also have the Kids Zone. Trevor the Juggler will be there for all the kids. The Kids Zone, inflatables, and lots of activities for them to engage in. There'll be Zumba, of course. Somebody doing Zumba between 1 and 1:45. And of course, all kinds of music. Fred Clayton, Doug Ricardo, so there's jazz, there's hip hop, the Groovalados, who were fantastic last year. And also, we have, there's a group that's setting up soccer out there. So if you get a chance, come on down and try out your skills with, I think President Levesque came one year and he, I believe, tried the pogo sticks or the stilts or one of those. There are lots of activity. You just come through just come through for a few minutes or so and just socialize with some of it. It's for the public. It's all free, and that's the reason why it's put on. It's put on twice, 4 times a year, 2 before the tourist season, 2 after the tourist season, just to get the community engaged and involved. So if you have any time on Sunday, swing through for a few minutes and just patronize some of the businesses and some of the activities that are going on Main Street. I also want to mention that on Tuesday, September the 21st, the Women's Coalition and the Massachusetts Women Political Caucus is offering a discussion on Who Me? Yes, you can run for office is the title. And the title is considering trying to encourage women to run for office. Have you ever considered a run for a political office? And all of you ladies on this council have done so. And so this is to encourage other women to come out and run for office. The discussion will include speakers such as Elena Doyle, the board member, She Votes and Cape Women's Coalition, Mary LeClaire, the former county commissioner of Barnstable County, Ann Quirk, the Barnstable town clerk, will be there, Dawn Shade, president of the Massachusetts Women Political Caucus, and I have been asked to be the moderator of this event for my experience being on a political activist and having the opportunity to run to share my expertise. So my experience is not expertise, it's just experience from how I decided to run and what I've experienced as a woman in politics and as a woman of color who's run. So we're trying to encourage more women of color to come out and run for office. So if you get an opportunity or of mothers out there or any friend that females, please have them tune in on September the 21st from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And you can go on to the Women's Coalition's website, Cape Cod Women's Coalition at Gmail, and find out more information about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dagwan. Comment, please.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, Hyannis Open Streets is always a great time. Actually, Dante is going to be there with Keith Rosary this year. My son, he is hot off his world championship tour in Las Vegas with all the kids from that dojo. They're really great. They work really hard, and it's a real sense of pride for all the moms and dads that watch their kids do that. And it brings me to my next point, which is more relevant and not shameless family promotion, but that, you know, we have so many really excellent organizations like Cub Scouts and Girl Scouts and Babe Ruth Ball. And if any counselors or anyone watching has any ties to these groups, Hyannis Open Streets is what that's all about. It's pulling together the organizations that do the hard work of community building, and putting them on showcase. So we have another event in a month on October. It's going to be gorgeous that day too, I'm sure. So if you know people that are doing these things, then you know, suggest that they come show off. We want to see them. We want to see the kids doing great things and the parents that support the kids. I mean, PJ Richardson is, Eric Steinhilber and I went to talk to Cub Scouts yesterday. And, you know, just the amount of time and effort and love that that guy volunteers in our community it's really crazy. And we're made of that. Barnstable's made of that. And this is a really great time to show it all off, regardless of whether you're from Hyannis or Katuitt or wherever you're from. Like, bring it. We'd love to see it. So I'm really excited to get more people involved for the October show. I'm hoping to get exactly who I said, Cub Scouts, Babe Ruth, and some others, get the community going a little bit. So especially coming out of COVID, it's important that we rebuild those communication lines. Thank you.
Great comments, Councilor Cullen. Echo those sentiments. Councilor Rappusetti, please.
You know, given the Board of Health is present, maybe we should mention too that on Wednesday, September 29th from 9 to noon, there's a drive-through only influenza vaccination at the Greek Church on Route 28 in Centerville. It's $3. You have to be a resident of the town of Barnstable. There is a consent form and you can download it from the town's website to make the process a little easy. But Tom McKeon, he runs a great clinic over there. It's wham bam, you're in there, out there pretty quick. So, well, you won't be in there. You'll be in your car. So.
Thank you for that, Councilor Rappusetti. We'll plug there. Back to Councilor Dagwan, please. I
just want to quickly mention about all the candidates that are running for school committee and running for in the town council positions as well, that you keep an eye out for a lot of them. I know that the Civic Association, the Hyannis Civic Association, is planning next month a candidates night for the candidates to come out and share their views and you know, their focus in areas in which they've decided to run. So good chance to get to meet the candidates and learn something about them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dagwan. Vice President Schnepp, please.
Yes, and I just wanted to say that our election is on November 2nd. So circle that date.
Very good. Thank you for that. Okay, any other council communications at this point before we get into our orders of the day? Okay, not seeing any of the council communications. At this point in time, I would like to take a 5-minute break. So Sarah, if we could take a 5-minute break, please. And councilors, if you could actually return in 5 minutes, that would be much appreciated. Thank you so much. We have quorum. That's the question. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I believe we do. We have 12. Council Clark is muted and her video's off. She might still be with us, but we do have 12 present. So I'd like to continue. Sarah, if we could, please.
You're all set. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to welcome everybody back. Town Council meeting on September 16th, 2021. And we're going to get into the orders of the day. First item of old business, Vice President Schnepp, if you can help me out, please. Item number 2022-007.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a matter of old business requiring a public hearing and a roll call vote of 2/3 of the full council. Item 2022-007, amending the code of the town of Barnstable, Part 1, General Ordinances, Chapter 240, zoning by adding a mixed-use subzone of the Medical Services Overlay District.
Second.
All right. And I'd like to ask our Councilor Nober, do we need to take a vote, or can I request a continuance of this agenda item at this point in time?
I would make that motion. Well, I would have you make that motion.
Okay. I would like to continue this agenda item 2022-007 as written to a public hearing to be held at the town council meeting on October 21st, 2021, subject to an affirmative majority vote of the council.
Second. Okay, we have a first and a second on the continuance. Assistant Town Clerk Janet Murphy for the vote, please.
Councilors, Bogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Cullum,
Yes.
Dagwan,
Yes.
Rapcorsetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnepp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Atzles.
Yes.
13 yes, it passes.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to, I believe that's the end of old business. And moving on to our first item of new business, Councilor Neary, please, if you could, item number 2022-017, please.
My pleasure, Mr. President. Let me just fast forward on this very large prior. 017, this is new business which may be acted upon for the roll call majority. 2022-017 is the acceptance of a donation from Operation Underground Railroad, or OUR, of Gray Key software and hardware valued at $25,270.50, provided by Gray Shift LLC, as written.
Second.
First and a second, and we have Chief Sonnabend here for the rationale, please.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the council. Chief Sonnabend, Barnstable Police Department, here to speak to item number 2022-017, a donation from Operation Underground Railroad in the amount of $25,270.50. The basic premise of this donation is that this is software and hardware from a company known as Gray Shift, and what it does is it enables the police department to unlock locked tech devices like cell phones and things like that, download the data and unencrypt it if it's encrypted. It's used in a lot of child pornography and child exploitation, sex exploitation investigations. This group, Underground Railroad, is a group that makes these donations nationwide, actually worldwide, to law enforcement agencies to help them conduct investigations to stop child exploitation. In return, what all the company wants from us is data saying how many arrests we've made, how many investigations we've conducted, how many devices we were able to unlock to conduct these types of investigations, and they use that for their own purposes. We don't give them any names. We don't give them any specifics other than just the numbers that they're requesting. And in return for that, they'll give us these devices worth about $25,000. That will enable us to unlock all these devices. This gift is for 1 year. There's no financial obligation on our end. There's no financial obligation from the town. The other side bonus to this is that at the end of the year, we can evaluate this product and decide if it is something, a service that we want to continue with. They have other pricing tiers. So $25,000 happens to be the high tier that they have, but this will enable us to assist other agencies in our area as well with these types of investigations. In the past, what we would have to do is go to the federal government, up to Boston, to the FBI, Secret Service, or somewhere else like that, or the state police to gain access to this type of equipment. But we have people trained in its use, and the company and the organization knows of our good works already so far. So we're looking to take advantage of this donation.
Very good. Okay, thank you for that rationale. And council discussion, please. Councilor Atkins.
Quick question for Chief Sonnabend. Do you know if this technology can unlock SD cards, micro SD cards?
That I don't know specifically. It unlocks the phones. It has the potential. I don't have, Detective Connolly is here, and he was going to be dropping in to listen. He could answer that question specifically, but it does come with a host of things that will allow us to unlock a variety of different things. And a lot of times the SD cards are fitted into the phones, and therefore we could unlock them through the phone itself. But I don't know if it has a slot to like stick it in or something like that, or if it has a computer basis to stick it into myself personally.
All right, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other council discussion? You're not seeing any. Assistant Town Clerk Janet Murphy for the vote, please.
Councilors: Clark,
Yes.
Cullum,
Yes.
Dagwan,
Yes.
Rapcorsetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnepp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Atzlis,
Yes.
Bogan.
Yes.
13 yes, it passes.
Thank you. Council Rep Grissetti, could you please help me with the next item of new business? Item number 2022-018, please.
Yes, this is new business, may be acted upon, roll call majority. Item 2022-018, acceptance of a fiscal year 2022 State 911 Department Training Grant in the amount of $22,742.60 from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, as written.
Second.
Second.
So we have a first and a second. Back to Chief Sonnabend for the rationale, please.
Thank you again, Mr. President. This is item number 2022-018. The grant from the State Department of 911 for $22,742.60. This grant is used for the purposes to pay for the training for all our 911 operators. It covers their training costs. There are 16 hours each operator is required to incur each year, and this grant will cover those costs and personnel costs associated with that training. This is a reimbursement grant for all training costs, materials, and overtime. The elimination of this grant of funding would have a direct impact on future general fund budgets, as it would still be training we are mandated to cover anyway, but this is a grant we pretty much apply for and get every year. And all costs associated with this grant must be completed by June 30th of 2022.
Good. Any council discussion? Not seeing any. Assistant Town Clerk Janet Murphy for the vote, please.
Councilors: Cullum,
Yes.
Dagwan,
Yes.
Rapcorsetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnepp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Atzlis,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
13 yes, it passes.
Thank you very much. everyone. Moving on to the next item, Councilor Atzelis, could you please help me with item number 2022-019?
Yes. Item number 2022-019, acceptance of a fiscal year 2022 911 support and incentive grant in the amount of $270,026 from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Public Safety and Security. This is a roll call majority vote.
Second.
In a first and a second. Chief Sonderman, please, for the rationale.
Good evening once again. This is another grant from the State Department of 911 in the amount of $270,000 and $270,026. The acceptance of this grant will allow the department to fund personnel costs associated with overtime and regular time for our 911 dispatchers assigned to our dispatch center, and up to a funding limit of $270,000 and $270,026. This is also a reimbursement grant for personnel costs. The elimination of this grant funding would have a direct impact on future general fund budgets by that we would still have to pay the salaries. So this covers the salaries and overtime for our 911 dispatchers up to the amount of the grant. It is a reimbursement grant, and all funds and costs associated with this grant must also be completed by June 30th, 2022.
Okay, very good. Any council discussion? Councilor Starr, please.
I'd just like to point out that the chief is done early here. And I appreciate that we got to his.
I appreciate that too.
Early. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good point, Councilor Starr. We're trying. We pick our spots. So appreciate you being with us, Chief, as always, and appreciate all the work that you
always
do,
a pleasure.
You know, and your staff to get these grants and things moving forward to help our force be more effective. So I really
as an aside, if I may.
Yes, sir.
I did get an answer. Detective Connolly texted me, and to answer Councilor Atzelis' question earlier, it does not do micro SD cards or SS cards. It is just for the equipment like computers and phones.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank Detective Connolly for us, please, for the prompt answer to the question.
I will.
Any other council discussion? Okay, not seeing any. Assistant Town Clerk Jenna Murphy for the vote, please.
Councilors, Dagwan,
Yes.
Rapcorsetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnepp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Atzelis,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes, thank you for getting these grants.
Cullum.
Yes.
13 yes, it passes.
Excellent. Moving on to the next item of business. Councilor Dagwan, please, if you could, item number 2022-020.
Thank you, Mr. President. On the new business, item 2022-020, a resolve approving the appointment of R. Lane Partridge as the Director of Assessing for the Town of Barnstable. This requires a roll call majority vote, and it may be acted upon tonight by the council.
Second.
Excellent. So we have a first and a second, and I believe we have a Director, Mark Milne, for the rationale, please.
Thank you. Thank you, President Levesque. Good evening, councilors. Mark Milne, Finance Director for the Town of Barnstable. I'm pleased to introduce to you this evening our recommendation for the Director of Assessing for the town, Mr. Richard Lane Partridge, who has joined us here this evening. Mr. Lane comes to us with over 20 years of experience in the municipal assessment field. Most recently, he's been working for Concord, Mass. For the past 10 years. Prior to that, he was in Hingham, Massachusetts, I believe, for 11 years. Lane also has extensive experience in the commercial appraisal field, having participated in many of the complex commercial appraisals as part of the eminent domain takings for the Boston's Central Artery Tunnel project. He's also actively involved in the Massachusetts Assessors Association and the International Assessors Association, also often participating as an instructor at those associations. So always sharing his experience and teaching others in the field. And we're pleased to recommend him this evening for the Director's Assessors position. He is here, has joined us this evening, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Excellent. Thank you, Director Milne, and welcome, Mr. Partridge. Thank you for joining us this evening. Really appreciate that. And with that, do we have any councilor questions? Councilor Clark, please.
No, I'm saying welcome to Mr. Lane, Mr. Partridge.
Thank you.
Thank you. And any other councilor discussion? Quite the resume. Very impressive. Councilor Neary.
President, possible future Director Partridge, question. Where do you currently reside? Did you live out in Concord or live up in Hingham at the time, or have you become a wash ashore here? I'm just curious.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President and councilors. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. It became very simple for my wife and I to make the decision. We had sold our house in Newton in March. As a student of the market, I could see what was going on and made a sizable profit on the sale of my house. And I am currently a homeless man with a lot of money. And we are looking to move south. We have been looking on the Cape. We've also been looking in Plymouth and Duxbury. So we will be relocating much closer to Barnstable.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good luck in that.
Yeah, that's been a tough process.
I'm sure it has. Yes, sir. I can only imagine. So, okay. So any other further discussion? Thank you again for being with us. Thank you, Director Milne, for the presentation and putting together the search, because I know that was a daunting task as well. Not an easy job. So with that, Assistant Town Clerk Janet Murphy for the vote, please.
Rapp Grissetti.
Yes.
Hebert.
Yes.
Levesque.
Yes.
Neary.
Yes.
Schnepp.
Yes, and welcome.
Shaughnessy.
Yes, and ditto.
Starr.
Yes.
Steinhilber.
Yes.
Atzlis.
Yes.
Bogan.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Cullum.
Yes.
Dagwan.
Yes, welcome aboard.
13 yes, it passed.
It's unanimous.
Great.
Lane, thank you for lending your talents to the town of Barnstable. We much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, and I look forward to working with you all.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Take care. We'll see you at Town Hall real soon.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you again, my Director Milne, for that. And moving on to the next item of business, Councilor Steinhilber, please. Item number 2022-021.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is item 2022-021, determination under Section 19 of General Law, Chapter 268A, the Conflict of Interest Law, as written.
Second.
Excellent. And I believe we have Attorney Karen Nober for the rationale, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening. Karen Nober, Town Attorney. Section 19 of the State Conflict of Interest Law prohibits a municipal employee from participating in a particular matter in which he has a financial interest, unless the employee's appointing authority makes a determination that the financial interest is not so substantial as to be deemed likely to affect the integrity of the services which the town may expect from the employee. Section 19 requires that an employee who wishes to participate in such a matter file a disclosure with the employee's appointing authority of the nature and circumstances of the particular matter and make full disclosure of the employee's financial interest prior to participating. If the appointing authority makes the determination, then the employee may participate in the matter, notwithstanding his financial interest. Mark Ells has filed a Section 19 disclosure with the council as his appointing authority. As set forth in that disclosure, his duties as town manager include making decisions regarding the award of a cost of living adjustment to town employees in the non-affiliated executive group, which is department heads, including whether to award a COLA and the amount of any such COLA. The award of a COLA to Mr. Els is governed by his employment contract with the town. Prior to this year, his employment contract specified the amount of the COLA that he would receive each year. However, in September 2020, the town and Mr. Els agreed to a new contract for the period July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2026. And at the request of the council, the COLA provisions were revised to provide that the town manager will receive an annual cost of living adjustment equal to that received by employees in the department head group. And due to that change in language, Mr. Els now has a financial interest in the decisions that he makes regarding COLAs for department heads, because he will receive the same COLA that he awards to those department heads. So in order for Mr. Els to continue to make these decisions, he needs the town council's authorization to do so, and the council would need to make the determination that I just described. Because these decisions affect the town manager and department heads, there is no other town employee who could make these decisions who would not also have a financial interest in them. If the council does not want to make this determination, then the only feasible alternative would be to revise Mr. Els's employment contract to separate his financial interest from these decisions. And you could do that either by specifying the amount of the COLA he will receive each year, which is how his contract used to read, or by putting in place a process for the council to make that decision each year. And I'd just like to point out that Section 19 contemplates having the employee make this disclosure before they participate in the matter. But because Mr. Els has already awarded a COLA to department heads, which was effective July 1st, his receipt of a COLA has been put on hold until the council decides how it wishes to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Nober. I appreciate that. At this point, do we have any council discussion? Okay, not seeing, I don't think I see anybody's hands. Okay, without any more further discussion, Assistant Town Clerk Janet Murphy for the vote, please.
Councilors Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnepp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Atzlis,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Cullum,
Yes.
Dagwan,
No.
Rapcorsetti.
Yes.
12 yes, 1 no. Item passes.
Okay, excellent. If could get a little help, Councilor Bogan, please. If you could read into the record item number 2022-022.
Yes, Mr. President, item 2022-022 is a resolution that would ratify the town council vote of October 10, 2019, authorizing the town manager to commence negotiations with Vineyard Wind LLC regarding amendments to the existing host community agreement between the town of Barnstable and Vineyard Wind LLC HCA, and authorizing the town manager to negotiate further amendments to the HCA or a new host community agreement with Vineyard Wind, which would be known as HCA2, with respect to a second project that would come ashore at Craigville Beach. This is an item of new business that may be acted upon. It requires a roll call majority. And if the president will let the record reflect that, I will recuse myself from this matter.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Bogan. And so we have our
If
first.
Councilor Bogan is recusing himself, could someone else read that into the record, please?
Sure, that's my fault actually, because Councilor Bogan actually gave me a heads up on that, so I apologize for that. Councilor Hebert, could we do a little deja vu, and could you reread that item into the record, please?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
This is item number 2022-022. New business may be acted upon with roll call majority. Resolved, ratifying the town council vote of October 10th, 2019, authorizing the town manager to commence negotiations with Vineyard Wind LLC regarding amendments to the existing host community agreement between the town of Barnstable and Vineyard Wind LLC HCA, and authorizing the town manager to negotiate further amendments to the HCA or a new host community agreement with Vineyard Wind HCA2 with respect to the second project that would come ashore at Craigville Beach.
So,
Very good. And so we have first and a second, Town Manager Els.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Mark Els, Town Manager. This resolve before you tonight is, as read, a ratification of a previous vote relevant to authorizing the town manager to negotiate amendments to the initial host community agreement. I have Attorney Nober and Attorney McLaughlin, as well as Nate Mayo, and I believe Rachel Factor may be out there as well in support. If we get into any technical questions from Vineyard Wind, the initial host community agreement contemplated two phases. The first phase landing at Coville's and the second phase landing at Coville's. As we progressed through that, came to be aware that Vineyard Wind was recommending that they not have two landings at Coville's. We did this very openly, and I have continued to update town council throughout my interactions with Vineyard Wind. And at that point, the president, former president and vice president of the town council, myself and members of Vineyard Wind sat down to look at alternative locations for the second landing. We identified the west end of Craigville Beach as being appropriate. And so their permitting relevant to that has progressed. The agreement relevant to the host community agreement was basically a template of what occurred in phase one with the modification of the landing location. I have continued with these discussions with Vineyard Wind to the point where we are nearing a final version of an amended host agreement to reflect the current proposed landing at the west end of Craigville Beach for phase two. At that point, Attorney Nober advised that I should go back and receive a reaffirmation, a ratification by town council of an earlier vote of these negotiations. You know, and to give you an example of a couple of the changes, certainly it's that now we've included you know, sewer as part of the project. The original host community agreement didn't contemplate that. We've included language relevant to you know, substations. Some of that language is in the initial host agreement. So this is in essence an update and your recognition and authorization to continue with this. I expect in the very near future to be coming before you to ask for your authorization for me to sign into the updated host agreement for phase two. The process that we used with prior council was that, and I would defer to Attorney Nober as to proper process, but at a certain point in the draft, the development of the draft host community agreement, we shared this and reviewed it in executive session with council, and then subsequent to that came back to town council asking for you to authorize me to enter into the host agreement. So we're also in the process, and you've already authorized me to proceed with negotiations on phase three. So really what this is asking is for you to authorize me to modify the standing host agreement to reflect the changes for phase two of the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Town Manager Els, for that. Vice President Schnepp, did you have a question?
Yes, Mr. President. Is there anything in this resolve that would permit you to change the financial arrangements of the host community agreements that we approved previously?
I don't anticipate that. I guess that, well, let me back up. I'm thinking of specific areas when I answer this, so I think I need to be a little broader in my statement. Yes, there could be changes. So let me go over briefly what the host community agreement from a financial standpoint consisted of. It consisted of a host fee. We are not contemplating a change for the Phase 2 project in the host fee. It included personal property taxes relevant to the asset that will be constructed. Those are to be calculated by our, now new assessor, and those will become part of taxation that occurs in the community. So, the fact that it's a personal property tax revenue source is still the same. The calculation by which we would look to collect the host fee and the personal property tax would stay the same, but obviously different location, different length of asset, different personal property tax. Construction improvements, different route. We're looking at different parking lots, roadways, utilities that could be impacted. Certainly the savings that will result by coordinating sewer installation and utility installation. Because once again, Vineyard Wind would be repaving those roads as opposed to us doing it as part of the sewer expansion project. There's also other mitigation in the Phase 1 project, for example, monies toward the improvement of the comfort station at Colville's Beach. We are looking at a similar type and scale amount of money for improvements at Craigville Beach or in and around the Craigville Beach area. So in essence, it's a template of the first, but there are specifics that will differ because, quite honestly, the project is a different project.
And at any point in time, would the completed negotiated host agreement as amended come back to the council? Or are we, by approving this resolve, basically giving you that delegation?
You've given me the authority to negotiate. The process that we used last time is we went into executive session and we reviewed the host agreement in a final draft form. I asked for any comment from council and then proceeded to come before council and ask for authorization to enter into the agreement, which I was granted, and we signed into the initial host community agreement.
And if I could add to that, that's all correct. And what this vote also authorizes the town manager to do is negotiate and execute the necessary agreements that would govern the parallel installations of sewer and duct banks. So that's the only, those are the only agreements that you would be authorizing him to negotiate and execute at this time.
Very good. Any other council discussion? Councilor Hebert, please. And then Councilor Starr.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I think that we found in the Phase 1, and I think it's similar in this case, that town manager and his team did excellent negotiations on the first Vineyard Wind project. And then I think that we couldn't ask for a better partner in the fact that Vineyard Wind with their representative, Nate Mayo, has treated us very, very well. They're a great team to work with. And as we heard from two of the public comment, many people are thrilled and excited that we're getting going and looking forward to the second phase as well. So I'll be voting in favor of this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor Hebert. Councilor Starr.
I'd like to echo Mr. Hebert's comments about I appreciate the process from Vineyard Wind's perspective and from the town's perspective. I think everybody's worked well together. It's a win-win for everybody. I think it's exciting. I can't wait to see. Of course, I won't be able to see it. Maybe I can get in a boat someday and go see what happens out there. But it's a real win for the town. I was just thinking, and I don't know if this is the place to bring it up, but the transmission station up in Independence Park the footprint has been expanded, and it's right next to our affordable housing Village Green housing units, and maybe during negotiations, it's sort of a social justice issue. It's like they're taking the brunt of the visual impact of this project. So I'm just throwing that out there as Mr. Ells does his negotiations.
Understood. I believe as part of the design review, though, we have looked at issues such as you're addressing to make sure that those are mitigated appropriately.
Thank you. Councilor Dagwan, you had your hand up?
Yes, I just wanted to say that I thought that Mr. Mayo and his team have been very transparent in the process, and they've been very good about contacting each of us individually and letting us know any setbacks or changes that have come about, or just letting us know what's coming up on about the project as we moved along. And I've always appreciated them doing that. And so I will be voting for this item.
Thank you, Councilor Dagwan. Councilor Neary, you had your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I guess just as a point of clarity, so we voted to authorize the town manager to negotiate in 2019, which he has, and my opinion is done well. So it's just so I'm clear, this is just to address the specific changes or the changes in the original agreement. Frankly, I don't see why we have to re-ratify something that we already said you could do.
I think it's because it doesn't specifically state that, and Karen Nova wanted to make sure that there were no inconsistencies or areas not covered. I believe, Karen, I don't want to speak for you, but I believe.
Well, I felt that if we were bringing some portion of this back to you for a vote, it would be helpful for the council to get the full picture of what's been authorized.
Okay, it's just, I feel like we authorized him to negotiate, which he did, and I think which we're frankly universally pretty satisfied with. But it also includes the new host agreement as well. You're are we dovetailing that in so there won't be another?
So you've already you clearly authorized me to negotiate the phase 3 in October of 2019. So the next step in that process would be for me to bring back a final draft version, which I would review with you all in executive session and take any comments that you have. And then I would come back to you asking for you to allow me to sign into that additional host agreement for a phase 3.
So it's just to talk about specificity regarding this particular agreement. But we've already authorized you. You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Yes. Thank you.
My opinion. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other comment, discussion? Okay, not seeing any. Assistant Town Clerk Janet Murphy for the vote, please.
Councilors Levesque,
Yes.
Neary,
Yes.
Schnepp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Gar,
Yes.
Dunhilber,
Yes.
Atzlis,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Cullum,
Yes.
Dagwan,
Yes.
Rapcorsetti,
Yes.
Hebert.
Yes.
12 yes, it passes.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate your hard work on that, Town Manager Ells. It's imperative when we're really on the, we're pioneering new renewable energy, not only for Barnstable County, not only for Massachusetts, but for the world, really, in a lot of ways. So appreciate all what you do to make that happen. So, okay, that would conclude the orders of the day. At this point, I would move to go into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, since a discussion in open session may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the town and town council. Specifically, the council will discuss 2 lawsuits filed against the town by the Conservation Law Foundation regarding claims under the Federal Clean Water Act and the Massachusetts Title V septic regulations. The council will not return to public session after the executive session.
So moved.
Okay, second.
Second.
Second, and Assistant Town Clerk Janet Murphy for the roll call vote, please.
Counselors, Neary,
Yes.
Schnapp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Steinhilber,
Yes.
Atzlis,
Yes.
Bogan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Cullum,
Yes.
Dagwan,
Yes.
Rapcorsetti,
Yes.
Hebert,
Yes.
Levesque,
Yes,
13 yes, passes.
excellent. And now I would hand the floor to Chairman Norman.
Yes, we're still in public session, but I need to, as chair, make a motion to move into executive session pursuant to General Law 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, since a discussion in open session may have a detrimental effect on the litigation position of the town and the Board of Health. Specifically, the Board of Health will discuss 2 lawsuits filed against the town by the Conservation Law Foundation regarding claims under the Federal Clean Waters Act and the Massachusetts Title V septic regulations. The Board of Health will not return to session after the executive session. I need a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please. Tom Lee?
Yes.
Tom Lee,
Yes.
John Norman,
Yes.
that's unanimous. Thank you.
We are now in executive session.
Excellent.
President Levesque?
Yes.
Could we make sure that